Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and set up a calm, really analytical framework for evaluating the Ciforus presale. In the crypto space, we are constantly bombarded with noise, hype, and those frantic countdown clocks, right? Well, today, we're just stripping all of that away. We're not here to look at wild price predictions or guaranteed adoption claims. Instead, we're going to act like sophisticated evaluators and run this project through a rigorous, highly structured assessment based purely on its verifiable architecture and public documents. To do this efficiently, we're going to run through 5 specific checks: product surface, token role, supply structure, verification materials, and finally, a risk review. And honestly, this comparison brilliantly illustrates the core problem we see in the current market. On one hand, you have your typical crypto presale. It's chaotic, they're basically just selling a roadmap, and they're asking you to invest capital into a future promise before a single line of functional code is even deployed. But then, on the other hand, we have the Ciforus model. This is a genuinely product-first approach. They actually spent 18 months building out a robust privacy ecosystem, creating real utility before ever kicking off a public token marketing push. So that brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? How do you actually evaluate a presale? Well, we need to think about how sophisticated reviewers conduct their due diligence. They definitely don't just look for the loudest Telegram group. They look for actual substance. They're looking for deployed contracts, reviewable architecture, and a completely logical reason for the token to even exist in the first place. And that's exactly the lens we are using today. All right, starting us off with check 1, product surface. So, the most crucial point here is establishing a really vital distinction right out of the gate. Ciforus, spelled with a capital C and lowercase letters, is the privacy-first product ecosystem. It's the actual software you use. Meanwhile, Ciforus in all capital letters is its native economic token layer. The platform provides the real-world utility, while the token acts as its economic engine. Essentially, the token reinforces the product thesis. It doesn't replace it. Looking closely at the product surface, these functional modules completely prove that the hard work was done first. Ciforus isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. It's a fully integrated environment. We're talking about a premium encrypted email system, wallet-based messaging where your cryptographic identity is literally your communication anchor, plus encrypted storage and secure notes. It also features a robust security center, utilizing two-factor authentication, and even paylinks for crypto-native invoicing. All of this proves the infrastructure is actually there right now. Now, the philosophy behind this build is fascinating because it treats privacy as core system architecture, not just some cosmetic feature you can toggle on and off. For instance, Ciforus intentionally limits broad server-side full-text indexing. Why? Well, because to make your files easily searchable, the server has to be able to read them in the first place. Ciforus actually accepts a slight reduction in convenience to maintain strict zero-knowledge principles. That means not even the platform itself can read your data. It's a serious, intentional, architectural trade-off designed entirely to protect the user. Moving right along to check 2, token role. If the product already works, why do we need a token? Well, the token flows through the platform logically. It isn't just speculative decoration, it's an internal economic primitive. First off, it gives you a 20% discount on subscription tiers if you use the Ciforus token at checkout instead of standard stablecoins. Second, there are staking thresholds, meaning you can hold and stake the token to unlock higher user tiers inside the app. And third, it features a usage-linked burn mechanic, or a massive 40% of the tokens used for services are permanently removed from circulation. Let's actually look a bit closer at that burn mechanic, because this brilliantly illustrates how transparency works in a serious project. There is absolutely no privileged owner burn function hidden away in the smart contract. Project admins cannot just randomly burn tokens to manipulate the supply. Instead, that 40% of tokens used for eligible platform services goes automatically to a public dead wallet. It's an unrecoverable address where those tokens are destroyed forever. This creates a highly auditable deflation mechanic that relies entirely on real platform adoption. Next up, check 3, supply structure. Let's analyze the math here. The total supply is strictly fixed at exactly 100 million tokens. It operates on an immutable ERC20 contract, which is the standard token format over on the Ethereum mainnet. What that really means for you as an evaluator is that there are absolutely zero future minting capabilities. The code cannot be changed, it can't be paused, there are no hidden transfer taxes, and zero blacklisting functions. It is a completely clean, highly auditable, fixed supply. And the public tokenomics are broken down into a very balanced, predictable allocation. 35% is going to the presale to allow for early access. 20% is reserved for the ecosystem and early user rewards, which helps drive adoption. Another 20% acts as a treasury for ongoing development. 15% is allocated directly to the team, and 10% is dedicated to providing the necessary decentralized exchange liquidity right at the token generation event. By mapping out the vesting schedule, we can see a really clear alignment with a long-term ecosystem health. Presale buyers get 20% unlocked right at the token generation event, followed by another 10% a month later, with the rest vesting linearly. But here is what's absolutely crucial. The team has a strict 6-month cliff where absolutely 0 team tokens unlock. None. After that, their tokens vest linearly over 24 months. This deliberately protects early presale participants from any sudden team sell-offs and proves the founders are actually aligned with the long-term success of the platform. That brings us to check 4, verification materials. It is time to verify the receipts, folks. Before making any kind of capital commitment, serious evaluators have to cross-reference deployed assets. You really shouldn't just read a flashy website. You need to dive into the public white paper. You should be reviewing the security audit reports. Pull up the verified smart contract address directly on Etherscan and literally look at the code yourself. Ciforus also maintains a public GitHub repository specifically built as a transparency hub. These are the actual tools you use to verify the infrastructure. This heavy emphasis on accessible, rigorous documentation acts as a massive trust signal for technical reviewers and early adopters alike. Ciforus operates on the core principle that trust isn't just some marketing buzzword, it's a verifiable state. By putting their contract, their audits, and their entire architectural philosophy out in the open, way before any aggressive public marketing, they're essentially inviting you to do the hard work of checking their math. Finally, we have check 5, risk review. Because look, no matter how strong the technology is, no presale is ever devoid of risk. A sober risk assessment acknowledges that while the infrastructure is already built, the platform still faces real hurdles. Market adoption is huge here. The deflationary burn only works if real people actually use the tools. Operationally, any software faces scaling and execution risks. Liquidity post-launch is never completely guaranteed. The regulatory environment around privacy tokens is constantly shifting, and of course, there's the ever-present threat of phishing targeting individual users. We have to look at all of these risks calmly and clearly. The absolute biggest takeaway here is to completely ignore fake urgency. Yes, deflationary tokenomics and a previously built product are fantastic structural advantages, for sure, but they absolutely do not guarantee market appreciation. The token's ecosystem value is entirely dependent on actual execution, continuous development, and the real-world adoption of these privacy tools. So, wrapping up this explainer, the goal isn't to tell you what to do. It's about showing you exactly how to look. Step away from the noise, ignore the hype, and inspect the public documents. Are you willing to put in the hard work of verifying the product architecture and checking the smart contract before you participate? Because honestly, once you start holding projects to this standard of verifiable proof, the real question becomes, why would you ever settle for investing in empty promises again?